Just drive past her, the voice on the phone told me. She's not your problem. Under a freezing sky, a broken-down car and one frightened woman pulled me into a quiet war with a powerful man who believed he could rewrite the truth, and nearly cost me my daughter in the process. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, have you ever stood up to someone with more power than you, even when it risked everything? And where are you watching from? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful emotional stories. Let's begin. The invitation to my ex-wife's wedding arrived on a damp Tuesday morning, tucked between a utility bill and a landscaping supply catalog I couldn't afford to order from. Lauren was getting married again. I stood at the kitchen counter staring at her name printed in gold script while my 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, ate cereal and kicked her heels against the cabinet. "Mom said you'd come," she said carefully, like she was testing glass for cracks. "I'll come," I answered. Not because I wanted to. Because Sophie deserved a father who could stand in uncomfortable rooms without shrinking. I run a small landscaping business. Some months it runs back. Divorce didn't just split a marriage, it split confidence, routine, and most of my savings. I told myself I was fine. That work and fatherhood were enough. But the truth? I dreaded that wedding. I dreaded the comparisons. Lauren's wealthy fiancé. His perfect suit. His steady investments. My aging truck and overdue equipment payments. That same evening, on my way home from finishing a hedge trimming job, I took the back road past my property. That's when I saw the car. A dark sedan sat crooked along the gravel edge near the unused guest house behind my yard. Engine off. One headlight cracked. It didn't look abandoned, it looked paused. I slowed. You don't ignore cars like that when you're a homeowner. But you also don't approach strangers lightly when you're a single dad. Still, I turned in. My headlights cut across the windshield and I saw movement inside. A woman jerked upright in the driver's seat. Even from a distance, I could see the fear in her posture. I stepped out slowly and kept my hands visible. "Hey," I called gently. "You okay?" The window lowered just enough for her voice to pass through. "I'm fine," she said, though her voice was hoarse from cold. "You're not fine," I replied. "It's going below freezing." She hesitated. Then opened the door halfway. She looked no older than 30. Blonde hair pulled back loosely, strands falling across her face. Her coat was thin for the weather. Her hands were red from cold, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only solid thing left in her life. "Car won't start?" I asked. "It will," she said quickly. "Eventually." There was pride in that answer. Wounded pride. "I'm Daniel," I said. "This is my property. If you need a safe place to sleep tonight, there's a guest house behind the yard. No charge. Just heat." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Measuring me. "Why?" she asked. That question told me everything. She wasn't used to offers without cost. "Because I've had bad nights too," I said. "And someone once helped me when they didn't have to." That wasn't entirely true. No one had helped me when Lauren left. But I wished they had. The woman looked past me toward the dark outline of the guest house. Then back at her car. Then at the sky. "My name is Claire," she said quietly. "Just one night." "One night," I agreed. As she stepped out, I noticed a folder on her passenger seat. Legal papers. Bold letters stamped across the top, "Notice of hearing." She saw me notice. In one quick motion, she flipped it face down. That told me something else. She wasn't just broke down. She was hiding. I led her toward the guest house, keeping distance so she wouldn't feel cornered. The porch light flicked on, casting a soft glow across the yard. "You don't have to tell me anything," I said as I unlocked the door. But if someone's looking for you, I'd rather know. She paused at the threshold. I'm not running from the law, she said. I'm running from a lie. That sentence stayed with me. Because lies are louder than truth when the wrong people are telling them. I handed her a spare key. Get warm, I said. As I walked back toward my house, I had no idea that the woman sleeping in that guest house would change my business, my future, and the way I understood courage. All I knew was this. I could have driven past. And I didn't. I didn't sleep well that night. Not because I was afraid of Claire. Because I was thinking about that sentence. I'm running from a lie. Around 2:30 a.m. I got up and looked out the back window. The guest house light was on. A soft yellow glow against the dark yard. For some reason, that made me feel calmer. Like the house wasn't empty anymore. In the morning, Sophie was already at the table, drawing flowers with pink markers. Who was the car? She asked casually. Someone who needed help, I said. Are they staying? Just for a little while. Sophie nodded, processing that the way children do, simply. Okay. After I dropped her off at school, I walked back to the guest house with 2 mugs of coffee. I knocked gently. Claire opened the door almost immediately, like she'd been awake for hours. She looked different in daylight. Still tired, but less fragile. Her blonde hair was tied loosely at the back of her neck, and she'd changed into a clean sweater. The legal folder was on the small table now, not hidden. Morning, I said. Morning. She stepped aside to let me in. The place was still modest, small couch, narrow kitchen, old wooden floor, but she had already made the bed neatly. That told me something about her too. You don't have to clean, I said. I need to feel useful, she replied softly. We sat across from each other, coffee between us. I won't ask questions you don't want to answer, I began, but if someone's looking for you, I need to know whether it affects my daughter. That wasn't cruelty. That was honesty. Claire held my gaze. It doesn't involve violence, she said carefully. But it does involve power. Meaning? My former father-in-law runs a private foundation tied to local education funding. I used to teach art at an elementary school. She paused. I was accused of stealing fundraiser money. I didn't react right away. I watched her face instead. I didn't take it, she added. The money was transferred to an account with my married last name, but not my account. And you can prove that? I asked. Yes. Then why are you here instead of in court? Because court costs money, she said quietly. And influence. There it was. Power. I leaned back. And the hearing notice? Custody, she said. My chest tightened. You have a child? A son. Ethan. 7. 7. I pictured Sophie at 7. Couldn't imagine someone keeping her from me. They argued I was financially unstable, Claire continued. That the investigation proved poor judgment. Temporary custody went to his father's family. And you're trying to fight it? Yes. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Claire's eyes flicked to the screen. I answered. No greeting. Just a voice. You should be careful who you bring into your home, Mr. Brooks. Cold. Controlled. Male. My stomach tightened. Who is this? Someone who doesn't like unnecessary interference. The line went dead. Claire had gone pale. That's him, she whispered. You're sure? Yes. I looked at my phone, then at her. He knows your name? I asked. She nodded slowly. He knows everything. For the first time since I found her in that car, fear pressed in hard against my ribs. Not for me. For Sophie. But fear and surrender aren't the same thing. You staying? I asked quietly. Claire swallowed. If you want me to leave, I understand. I thought about the wedding invitation still sitting on my kitchen counter. About Lauren's polished new life. About the version of myself that avoided conflict because it was easier. Then I thought about the man on the phone. And about Ethan. You said you're running from a lie, I said. I don't like lies. Claire's eyes searched mine. You can stay, I finished. But if we do this, we do it smart. A flicker of something, relief, maybe, crossed her face. You're not afraid, she asked. I am, I said honestly. But my daughter's watching who I become. Outside, the wind moved through the yard, brushing against the guest house walls. Claire wrapped her hands around the coffee mug. For what it's worth, she said softly, I didn't expect kindness. I almost smiled. Neither did I replied. And that's when I realized something important. This wasn't just about helping a stranger. It was about choosing the kind of man I wanted Sophie to remember. And once you make that choice, there's no halfway. The wedding was on Saturday. All week, the anonymous calls stopped. No more messages. No more warnings. That silence felt deliberate. Like someone stepping back to see what I would do next. On Friday evening, I found Claire sitting at the small desk in the guest house, reviewing documents again. She had organized everything into neat stacks, bank transfers, email threads, screenshots. You don't have to come, she said without looking up. To the wedding? Yes. I leaned against the doorway. I'm not hiding from my past. She finally looked at me. I meant with me. If he's connected to anyone there, then I'd rather see it in daylight. She studied my face, measuring something. Then she nodded. Sophie was thrilled that Claire was coming. She's prettier than Aunt Kira, Sophie declared as Claire arrived at the house Saturday afternoon in a soft green dress that caught the sunlight. Her blonde hair fell loosely over her shoulders, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked less like someone rebuilding, and more like someone whole. You look beautiful, I said quietly. She smiled. I borrowed the confidence. You didn't. The botanical garden was everything I remembered from my years with Lauren, glass walls, manicured hedges, people who smelled expensive. As we walked in, I felt eyes turn. Lauren saw us first. She looked radiant in white, composed and glowing. Her gaze shifted from me to Claire in one smooth motion. Daniel, she said politely. You made it. I said I would. And this is Claire Bennett, Claire answered calmly. A friend. Lauren's smile held, but her eyes sharpened slightly. Then Travis approached. Tall. Perfect posture. Confident handshake. Good to see you, Daniel, he said warmly. His attention moved to Claire. Have we met? I don't believe so, she replied evenly. He held her gaze a fraction too long. Something flickered there. Recognition? Calculation? During the ceremony, I barely heard the vows. I was watching the room instead. 2 rows behind us sat a man in his mid-50s with silver hair and an immaculate navy suit. Claire saw him too. Her fingers tightened around mine. That's him, she whispered. Robert Bennett. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't speaking. He was observing. After the ceremony, during the reception, he finally approached. Claire, he said smoothly. You look settled. She didn't step back. I am, she replied. His eyes shifted to me. And you must be Daniel Brooks. I am. He extended his hand. I didn't take it. His smile didn't change. You're a generous man, he continued. Opening your property to strangers. I prefer to know who I'm talking to, I said. He tilted his head slightly. Careful. Generosity can be expensive. Claire's voice remained steady. The truth is more expensive. For a split second, something hard flashed in his eyes. Then Travis appeared at Robert's side. Daniel, Travis said casually, I didn't realize you knew Mr. Bennett. I didn't, I answered. Until recently. That's when the final piece clicked. Educational foundation. Fundraising committees. Private donors. Lauren's new husband wasn't directly involved, but he moved in the same circle. This wasn't coincidence. It was proximity. Robert leaned closer to me, lowering his voice. You have a daughter, he murmured. 8 years old. Sophie, isn't it? My pulse slowed instead of racing. Don't, I said quietly. He smiled. No threats. Just perspective. Some families recover. Others collapse under pressure. Claire stepped between us, not dramatically, just firmly. She's not yours to use, she said. Robert studied her for a long moment. You were offered a quiet resolution, he replied. You declined. I declined a lie. He gave one final measured smile. Then we'll let the system work. He walked away. I felt Sophie's small hand slide into mine. Daddy, she asked softly. Is that man mad? I crouched down to her level. Some people don't like when others stand up, I said gently. Are we standing up? She asked. Yes. She nodded as if that settled everything. Later, during the father-daughter dance, I held Sophie close while she rested her head against my shoulder. I like Miss Claire, she whispered. I do too. Across the room, Claire stood near the edge of the dance floor, watching us. Not fragile. Not running. Present. When the music ended, she walked toward us. And in that moment, despite the tension, despite the warning, I knew something clearly. This wasn't just about helping her anymore. It was about choosing who we were going to be. Robert Bennett had made it clear. The system would work. But systems don't scare me. Losing integrity does. As we left the reception, my phone vibrated in my pocket. One message. This is your final opportunity to disengage. I looked at Claire. Then at Sophie. And I typed back 3 words. We're not afraid. The pressure didn't explode. It tightened. Monday morning, I received an email from the bank requesting an urgent reassessment of my business credit line. By noon, 2 long-term clients postponed their landscaping contracts. By Tuesday, one canceled entirely. No explanations. Just polite distance. Claire sat across from me at the kitchen table, spreadsheets open on her laptop. This isn't coincidence, she said quietly. I know. Robert had said, we'll let the system work. And this was how systems worked when someone wealthy leaned on them. That afternoon, something worse happened. A woman from Child Protective Services knocked on my door. Mr. Brooks, we received an anonymous concern regarding your daughter's living situation. My chest went cold. Sophie was inside painting with Claire. What kind of concern? I asked evenly. Allegations of instability and exposure to individuals involved in legal disputes. Claire. I stepped aside. You're welcome to look around. The house was clean. Food in the fridge. Homework neatly stacked. Sophie spoke confidently when asked simple questions. Daddy makes pancakes, she told the social worker proudly. And Miss Claire helps me with math. Miss Claire. Not stranger. Not danger. When the social worker left, she paused. I'm required to document the complaint, but I see no cause for concern. I thanked her, closed the door, and stood there for a long moment. Claire approached slowly. He's escalating. Yes. I should go, she whispered. If I'm not here, he loses leverage. I turned toward her. If you leave now, he wins, I said. It's your daughter, she insisted. I can't be the reason someone questions your custody. I thought about Sophie at the wedding, asking if we were standing up. I thought about Ethan. Robert isn't questioning my custody because of you, I said. He's questioning it because he thinks I'll fold. Claire's composure cracked slightly. I already lost my son once. And you're fighting to get him back, I replied. So don't run. She looked at me carefully. You're not afraid, she asked. I am, I admitted. But fear doesn't get to decide how I raise my kid. That night, I called a lawyer. Not someone flashy. Someone practical. A local attorney who understood custody law and nonprofit audits. I laid everything out, the fundraiser transfer, the voicemail threats, the anonymous complaint to CPS. He listened quietly. If the documentation is solid, he said, you don't fight this quietly. You expose it. Claire's hands trembled when I repeated that. Public, she whispered. Yes. If it fails, I lose everything. If it succeeds, I replied, you get Ethan back. Silence stretched between us. Outside, the yard was dark and still. The guest house light glowed softly behind the trees. Claire inhaled slowly. I'm tired of being afraid, she said. Good, I answered. Because he's counting on it. The next day, I received another message. You're choosing the wrong side. For a long moment, I stared at it. Then I typed back. There isn't a side. There's the truth. I hit send. And something shifted inside me. Not recklessness. Resolve. That evening, Sophie sat between Claire and me at the table, explaining her school project about community helpers. My dad fixes plants, she said proudly. And Miss Claire fixes numbers. Claire smiled faintly. After Sophie went to bed, we stood on the porch together. If this gets worse, Claire said softly, I don't want you to regret me. I stepped closer. You're not a mistake, I said. The wind moved through the trees, steady but no longer threatening. Robert Bennett believed pressure created surrender. He was wrong. Pressure creates clarity. And mine had never felt sharper. If he wanted the system to work, we were about to make sure it did. Not for revenge. For truth. And for two children who deserved to grow up knowing their parents didn't bow. We didn't go to the press first. We went to the facts. For 2 weeks, Claire and I worked every night after Sophie went to bed. We organized bank statements, highlighted routing numbers, printed archived emails, and documented every voicemail Robert had left me. The missing fundraiser money hadn't gone into Claire's account. It had gone into a non-profit shell account registered under a similar name, connected to Robert Bennett's foundation board. Arrogant men get lazy when they think no one can challenge them. Our lawyer contacted an investigative reporter who specialized in non-profit financial oversight. Not gossip. Not drama. Paper trails. The article went live on a Thursday evening. Education donor linked to fund diversion investigation. It didn't accuse. It asked questions, with documents attached. By Friday morning, the school board announced an internal audit. By Friday afternoon, the bank confirmed irregular transfers. By Monday, 2 former employees came forward quietly with their own concerns. Robert resigned from 3 advisory boards within a week. He never called me again. The custody hearing for Claire was moved up. I sat beside her in court as she handed over the full timeline, transfers, account ownership discrepancies, and recorded threats. The judge reviewed everything carefully. "Ms. Bennett," she asked, "why was this not presented earlier?" Claire's voice was steady. "Because I didn't have the resources," she said. "And I was intimidated." The judge looked directly at Robert. "Intimidation," she said evenly, "does not replace evidence." Temporary custody was reversed that day. When Ethan walked into the courthouse hallway and saw his mother, he didn't hesitate. He ran. Claire dropped to her knees and held him like someone anchoring herself to earth. Sophie stood beside me, gripping my hand. "That's her little boy," she whispered. "Yes. He looks like he missed her." He did. I felt something loosen in my chest that I hadn't realized was tight. The system had worked. Not because it was perfect. Because someone refused to back down. The financial pressure on my business eased slowly. A few clients never returned. Others did. And new ones came, people who respected integrity more than influence. Claire didn't just help stabilize my company. She transformed it. Clear contracts. Transparent billing. Partnerships with local schools to build small educational gardens. "Let's grow something no one can steal," she said once. 3 years later, the backyard looked nothing like the place where I first found a stranger in a broken-down car. The old greenhouse frame stood restored, wrapped in climbing roses. Lantern lights hung between trees. Rows of lavender and herbs bordered the path leading to the small guest house. A sign now hung above its door. New roots. Temporary housing for people rebuilding after crisis. Structured stays. Legal referrals. Employment support. Not charity. Stability. The wedding was simple. Backyard. Family. Close friends. Lauren and Travis even attended, quietly supportive. Time has a way of sanding sharp edges. Sophie, now older and taller, adjusted Claire's veil with careful hands. Ethan stood beside me holding the rings like they were priceless. When Claire walked toward me, she didn't look like someone who had once been hiding. She looked steady. Strong. Home. "I offered you one night," I said during my vows. "I didn't expect you to become my whole life." She smiled softly. "You gave me a place to stand," she replied. I chose to stay. When we kissed, it wasn't dramatic. It was certain. Later that evening, after the guests had gone, Claire and I stood at the window overlooking the garden. The guest house lights glowed softly. "You could have driven past that night," she said quietly. "I almost did." She rested her head against my shoulder. "You didn't." Outside, Sophie and Ethan chased each other between the garden rows, their laughter carrying through the warm air. Love didn't fix everything. It didn't erase fear or pressure or powerful men. But it gave us courage. And courage, steady, stubborn courage, changed everything else. Sometimes the most beautiful gardens don't grow from perfect soil. They grow from ground that was almost abandoned. And sometimes all it takes to change a future is refusing to drive past someone who needs a place to begin again. Thanks for watching. If this story meant something to you, please like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories about love, resilience, and second chances.